We are all speakers or writers or both. Is there anything magic in that world of writing and speaking? Well, yes, there is. There's at least one thing, and it is the number 3. Let me explain how that works. Human beings process information through recognizing patterns, and the smallest number in a set of things that allows us to recognize a pattern is 3. 3 is what makes memorable phrases. Think of phrases like stop, look, and listen. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Friends, Romans, countrymen. Even 911. All 3-part phrases that are memorable, easy to remember. This rule of 3 can also be used as a structural tool, especially in putting together stories in speeches that you give. Let me give you an example of what I think may be the most memorable fairy tale of all time, Goldilocks and the 3 Bears. If you think of every scene in that fairy tale, everyone comes in 3s. The porridge is too hot, too cold, or just right. The chairs are too big, and just right. The beds are too soft, too hard, and just right. Each one has 3 things that help you remember them. When the bears come back from wherever they had been, they go through the same scenes with the same set of 3s. Even the number of scenes in that fairy tale, there are 3. Porridge, chairs, and beds. Because of that rule of 3, this is perhaps the easiest fairy tale to remember of all time. And I bet that any one of you could tell it without even going back and rereading it again. So if you're using the rule of 3, how do you use it? Well, if you're building stories, think about building the structure of your stories into 3 parts. The first part to set things up, the second part to build anticipation or conflict, and then the third part to finish with the resolution of that conflict or a last-minute twist at the end. Think about using 3 characters in your stories. You have more interaction options than you do with just 2. You can have A interacts with B, B with C, and C with A. I've learned over the years that 4 is just too many for your audience to keep track of most of the time. 3 is optimal. If you have a hero in your story, have that hero make 3 attempts at something. First time, a failure. Second time, a failure. Third time, something changed, a success. Even think about putting 3 parts into your table topics answers. They will be more memorable that way. If you look at comedy, the rule of 3 is very common in comedy. There are 3 parts to most jokes. There's a setup, there's something that builds anticipation, and there's a punchline. Or perhaps there are simply patterns of 3 things. The first one has a context, the second one reinforces that context, and then the third one has a twist on that pattern. Examples, there's a reason why it's always 3 guys that walk into a bar, not 2 or 4. I'll give you an example too of a line that I used in my recent international speech where I was talking about how I acted at various ages in my lifetime. The script at one point goes like this. At age 20, I found passion in peace and justice and girls. So you see what I did there? You expected something momentous for that third one, and there's a little twist at the end. And then I even doubled down on that and said, and even now I argue like an in-your-face 20-year-old about peace and justice, but not girls. So that rule of 3 works very well in comedy as well. As you see, there are many opportunities for this rule of 3. You can use 3-part phrases, stop, look, and listen, 3-part stories, 3 characters in your stories, or 3 parts to your comedy. Use this rule of 3 fervidly in your next speech. Maybe use it 3 times. As the saying goes, good things come in threes. Madam Toastmaster.